Now you can see me too. Hi, everybody. Okay, you do not need to come on. In fact, I would encourage you not to come on screen so that way I can get this in full screen view mode again and I will immediately start. All right. Dun, dun. Wait, there we go. Thanks for your patience with this. I stopped using PowerPoint and I started using Keynote and I'm using Zoom instead of a webinar software. All right, welcome to Neuturals, Rewiring Neural Pathways and Trusting Your IGS. My name is Zen Cryer de Brook, and I know you guys know me, and I am your host for this webinar today. And what I want to share with you is, what happened to me. You're going to get to learn a little bit about me today and, what my life was like and where this came from. And that's me on stage in Las Vegas at a 10,000 person women's event for the most successful women in network marketing event. I was invited in to speak, and it was quite a shining moment for me based on my background. Most people who are in the personal development realm, they have a background where they were trained in their work. So a lot of people that I'm in relationship with at the Transformational Leadership Council, for instance, which was an organization that I've been a part of since 2007. And it was started by Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. I'm sure some of you might have heard of that book before. And there's a bunch of people in there. Let's see, who else would you know? John Gray, who did Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Stephen Covey's in that group. Marianne Williamson has been in that group. And so many more. It's a really amazing a group of people who've done incredible things on the planet. And what I have to say about that is most of them came from a bigger group of people. Like, for instance, Jack Canfield came out of EST, which was started by Werner Erhard, and in that group became Landmark, which Landmark is a personal development group. Stephen Covey and John Gray came out of the like law of attraction movement, right? And so they came out of some of the books Think and Grow Rich from way beyond, and they took their ideas from there. And what I have to say about me is I didn't have any of that. I didn't go study with another group of people and then decide to become a teacher, get trained to be a teacher, or a trainer is what they actually call them, is a trainer. And then you become a trainer and then you work under them and then you go off and you start your own company. And that's where most of them came from. I was a high school dropout. I had come from a really difficult background. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about where I came from, not because I want to have you feel sorry for me or anything like that, but I want you to know that this work that I've done came out of my trauma. It really came out of being verbally, emotionally, sexually, and physically abused in my childhood, all of that. Abandoned. I'm a Gen Xer, latchkey kid, but my parents were just there. They were basically building houses and working really hard, and had to take care of ourselves. And my abuse came from a lot of the abuse physically and emotionally and mentally came from my mom, who came from her mother was homeless when she was younger, severe alcoholic. And so as I was getting older, my mother, at her wit's end, used to beat the living snot out of me. And it was a release for her unintentionally when she would get so angry and frustrated. And as my life progressed, I had all this trauma. I was abused by a neighbor and then later by a 4-H leader and sexually. And my dad was checked out most of the time. He was a police officer and he was checked out and ignored us. And so I got to a place where I was 13 years old and my mom had been taking us to church for several years. And my mom brought home her best friend from church. And my dad and my mom's best friend fell in love. He and my mom got divorced. The church kind of abandoned my mom and pretty much kind of kicked her out of the church, basically, which was insane to me. I was 13, and you know how 13-year-olds are. If any of you have had a 13-year-old girl teenager, boy, I was not the nicest when it came to treating my dad. After doing that to my mom, boy, I was hell on wheels. I was really angry and upset and infuriated. And he moved this woman into the house 2 months after my mom had left and then married her on the day the divorce was final. All of this to say that the people in my life were a little crazy. And this trauma had made me callous and angry. It made me rebellious. And then a year after my dad married this woman, who was not a bad woman, she just made some bad choices. I give her credit. Later in life, we became, closer friends, realizing that we were all in the same trauma together. But my brother got hit by a car and was put into a wheelchair. And so my mom and her ex-best friend are trying to manage the hospital visits. My dad's checked out because he doesn't want to deal with the two women in his life that are fighting and angry and hurt. And I just left. Like the summer came along and I left. And to give you kind of a understanding of how abandoned I had been, I was 15 and I left. I went and found my own place. I had a boyfriend at the time. I got a car illegally, just bought one. They didn't even ask me for a license or anything. The person who sold it to me, I never got it registered, didn't have any insurance. I mean, it was really crazy. And I was working. And at the end of the summer, my mom or my dad called my mother and said, "When are you going to send Zen home?" And my mom was like, "What do you mean she's with you?" They didn't even notice that I was gone. And so I ended up, they wanted me to come home and I said, "No, I'm not." And it was this whole thing. And they really couldn't make me come home. And I kept working. Eventually, I dropped out of high school. And I figured that if I could just get away from the insanity of the adults in my life, that I was going to end up being okay. If I could just stop all of their drama and their abuse and go to work and do what I needed to do, I would be able to clean my life up. But the problem was, I took all of their dysfunction on and it had become part of my own programming. And so my mom's rage issues, the way my dad disassociated and checked out, the way that they handled their lives was ingrained in me. Now, maybe you can understand this a little bit, right? So I was blowing up my life. I was unemployed. I had lost a job when I found this work. I thought that if I could just, force people to treat me with respect. And so what I did was I got in a fight with my boss. I was a dishwasher at a big restaurant and I quit my job thinking that I could just, that they would just see how valuable I was if I left. I'm kind of the take my toys and go home, I'll show you. Have you ever, those kids that they're going to run away and hope that their parents are going to notice and come back and say, "We love you so much." That's all I wanted to hear is, "We love you so much and we need you." But they don't do that. They don't chase you down the street when you quit a job as a dishwasher at a restaurant. They just find a new dishwasher. And I would blow up at my roommate and say, "Fine, I'm going to move out," like some sort of punishment. And then the next day I'd come back and say, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." And they're like, "No, get out. We're sick of your attitude," right? And so as I went through my life, I was self-sabotaging constantly. And finally, a friend of mine, when I was about 22, gave me a cassette tape from a little known person. Her name was Esther Hicks, and she goes by Abraham Hicks. And I don't love the origin story of this because it did come from somebody who was channeled initially the idea of it. But I can say that the purity of the work from that I've created from this one audio cassette tape has been pretty profound. On the cassette tape, it was her sitting in her living room answering questions from people that were in her living room with her. And one man asked, "How do you have the most successful life?" And her answer was, "When you are in aligned with what is going to be working out the best for you, you will feel a centeredness or an expansion in the center of your body. And that means that you are on track and you are going to produce and create what your life is supposed to be creating. And when you are off track, you'll feel a tightness in the center of your body. It will feel as if the life force energy is being closed down, shut down inside of you. And when you feel like that, that means your thinking, the thoughts that you have in the moment, are taking you away from the most successful, happy life that you could have. And what I knew when I heard that, and I was driving there, I had like 1976 orange Honda Civic. We called it the Hoda because the N was missing. It was such a great car. And this was like 92. So it was a very old car, 76 Civic. I love that car. Anyways, I was driving that around, rewinding this cassette tape, and I would listen to this part over and over again. Have you ever had that feeling in the center of your forehead when somebody's trying to share something new with you and it just feels like pea soup or a thick fog in the center of your forehead? You're like trying to understand. You can feel that it's important information, but for some reason it's just not clicking. Well, that's what I felt like. I knew that whenever I blew up my life, whenever I made a mistake or and at this point I had ended up, I was like basically sleeping, I was couch surfing at friends' houses, using their showers, sleeping on their couches, or even sleeping in my car, trying to find a new job, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I had blown up my life. And I knew that every time I did something to self-sabotage, I felt that tightness. So this was like a very big moment for me. Now, I couldn't understand that my thoughts were creating a reality that I didn't like because as you know, you just played the game. Your thoughts feel really real. I mean, I'm showing you through in a really powerful way these little tiny exercises that I developed. Nobody taught me this. I had to discover it for myself. I decoded this. This is why it's so new. This is why it works so well, is because I literally went through what you're going through, except it took me many, many years. What you went through in a week, in 5 days, took me probably 4 years to get to. Just what you now know took me probably 4 years to get to that awareness of how to change my thinking, how to question my thinking, right? And I came up with these practices by myself, and this is how I changed my life. So I went from being unemployed to following my internal guidance system little by little. And I got my high school diploma. I opened at actually getting a diploma, not a GED. And then I went to and started going to, just a little piece of fuzz. I started going to community college. And I got my basic degrees out of the way while I was working, following my internal guidance system all along the way, opening to opening to opening. Lots of stuff happened, but it happened really fast. And then I ended up going to UC Davis, which is a magical story. I have so many magical stories. When you begin to follow your internal guidance system, miracles and synchronicity are the norm. And even how the story of how I got into UC Davis is a miracle. I was older at this point. I was like 26 years old, and I worked really hard to get to this point. And I just wanted to go to college. And so I was living near my dad's, and Sacramento State in California was the closest and easiest and cheapest place to go. And so I went to apply at Sacramento State, and I went into the admissions counselor, gave him my grades, told him about my goals and my dreams. I wanted to get a degree and then go to law school, studying international law, and I wanted to go work in China and eventually work my way up through representing U.S. corporations internationally in China to becoming an ambassador to China. I don't know where I got this idea. I was like one of those things where I was trying to figure out what would be the best thing to do. And back in the 80s, if you knew Japanese, you got hired by these major corporations and you became this incredible, asset for these companies and made tons of money. So I thought, what's the new language in the 90s? And it was Chinese. And so that's where I kind of went. And all of this opened me. So I go in front of the Sacramento State counselor, and he denies my application because he says that my grades are too good. Yep. My grades are too good and I should go to UC Davis. But I said UC Davis has already closed their admissions. I'm 26, 25, 26 years old. I can't remember exactly. I think I was 25. And I don't want to wait another year to go to school. And he said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to admit you. You need to go to UC Davis, which is absolutely insane. I've never heard of another admissions person ever doing that, not accepting somebody. And I went to work that night I was a waitress, server. And I was so distraught. I was literally crying in the bathroom. And one of the servers came in. She was a little bit younger than me. And she asked me what was wrong. And I told her what happened. And she said, my boyfriend is a softball coach at UC Davis. Let me ask him if he can help you. 2 days later, I'm in the softball coach's office, and I had played softball in high school for a very short period of time. And he put me on his roster, and I started school a week and a half later. I never saw that man again until I brought him a gift at the end where I had graduated. And I said, thank you. Never showed up for practice. I actually wasn't on his roster. He just put me on so that I would be accepted. I didn't even apply. Like he did have me fill out an application. I mean, it's this kind of insanity that happens when you follow your IGS. Miracles and synchronicities are the norm. So I got my degree in foreign policy. During this time period, I had wanted to start my own import-export business. I had gone to some classes at the Small Business Administration, and I took a class in starting your own import-export company. And I had begun doing business with China and the Middle East, trying to further my whole experience. And um, during this time period, one of my brother's friends had started doing websites. This was like 1996, 97. He had started doing HTML websites. I didn't even know what they were. I did not have an email account while I was in college. That's how small and far, it was like I did no internet experience, no computer experience. I was using a brother's word processor for my papers. This was not that time period. And he asked if I could sell his websites. And I was like, I don't. He tried to show me what they were. They didn't make sense. It was this stupid little black and white thing on a screen. I didn't get it. But one of my clients in the Middle East asked, because I was living in Northern California, which was the epicenter of the internet blossoming, asked if I knew anybody who could do a website. And so I connected to two of them. And the next thing I know, I'm getting complaints from the client that my brother's friend won't return his emails or phone calls. I didn't even have an email. I was using a fax machine to do business. And in order to save face, I dove in and I worked on project managing this. And the next thing I know, I had begun selling websites because he told somebody else that I knew people. And then I needed the money. And so I just sold another website. And then my friend kind of disappeared and I had to find another web designer. And I did. And then the work got so much that I found another web designer. And then I merged my company with another company. And the next thing you know, I have a multi-million-dollar company. Within 3 years, we were doing 6 million in business. I had an office in San Francisco downtown, right by the Transamerica building, and an office in London. And our clients were British Petroleum and Applied Materials and Bank of America. This is a high school. Look at this page. I went from an unemployed no high school, living out of my car, and in 6 years, I became the CEO of one of the first website development companies in the world. And I was literally wearing Armani suits and traveling back and forth to these major boardrooms around the country. And they were listening to me about the future of the internet and what their companies needed. And we became experts at intranet. Now, I'm telling you this because all along the way that I got there is I was managing the trauma and erasing it, just like you learned this week, going from a closing to an opening, rewiring my mind. My dad told me, I asked for money to take a I could do my SAT tests so I could get into college. And my dad wouldn't even give me a college prep test course and money because he said, you're never going to college. You're not smart enough. Right. And here I am in this position. And I got there because of this beautiful, amazing tool, the internal guidance system. Now, I called it the internal guidance system at this time period for myself, but nobody knew I was doing this. I talked to a couple friends, but they really didn't know. And so what happened is when the dot-com crash happened in the late 90s, 2001, actually, I discovered, I'm going to have you turn off your camera, Carmel. I discovered, go ahead and please, yeah, thank you. What happened is I discovered that I could follow this out of the dot-com bubble. I could use this to get out of the crash. My company, the Net Kitchen, is still in business. I left to come on to do this work. But what happened is that my friends whose companies were crashing and they were losing their homes and their cars and there was all this chaos happening in San Francisco, I'm still tootling along doing okay following my openings. And just like you felt this week, with the stress not being a problem, right? And you're learning to like move out of the stress. I was doing that. And they said, either tell us the doctor's name who's giving you your drugs or tell us what's going on because we're not okay. We're in trauma. We're in mess and you're okay. And so I started teaching this in my living room out of desperation for my to help my friends out and understand what this was. So this is where I came from. This isn't something that somebody gave me. This is something I created on my own and discovered. Like I didn't create the internal guidance system. I discovered it and decoded it, which is why I think it's so impactful and why I think it I know how to teach it and I know all about how it works is because it's organic. It organically came from me. Now I want to move on to neutrals. So neutral is guidance. You have an opening, a neutral, and a closing sensation. And I'm going to talk in a little bit about how that works. But right now, what I want you to know is when you're feeling neutral, it's that you're on your blueprint. You're not moving away from your blueprint out into the weeds, which would cause a closing, and you're not moving like into a more aligned place. You're on it. You're on track, like this compass that you see. The line that you're following, that glowing line, is your trajectory, the next steps that you need to take in your life to have the most successful, happy, ease-filled, flowing life. When you are on your blueprint, when you're on track, when you're aligned, you feel a beautiful, just neutral experience. And when you master your internal guidance system, neutral is your normal state of being. Now, for most people, they're experiencing closings because they have a lot of things in their minds that they need to clear out. And they also, you experience openings. And so what happens is the number one reason for neutral is it's your natural state of being, but you may not know that right now because you have a lot of stress. And I break stress and down into fear, worry, anxiety, overwhelm. When you're frustrated, you're irritated, when you feel like when you are procrastinating, when you're in doubt, uncertainty, defensive, when you have guilt, when you're feeling shame, when you feel like you're not enough. All of these feelings cause the closing. They're different forms of fear, to be honest with you. All of the things I just listed, like procrastination is fear that is if you're afraid you're not getting enough done. Impatience is afraid that you're wasting time with something that's not important. Defensiveness is a fear that you're doing something wrong, that you're being bad, that you're being accused, and you're not being accused. So when you understand all of these like multiple ways in which the closing happens, you become a master at being able to manage your day, understand how to recoup your mind and bring it right back to this centered state of being. Your natural state of being is being in a place of just being relaxed and happy. All of the animals out in nature are just relaxed and happy until something occurs where they need to take action in some particular way, whether it be like a positive like experience where they're going to go find food or bathe in the creek or do whatever, or run from something that feels dangerous. They're really just in this state of enjoying their life, and that's where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be in a natural state of just relaxing and enjoying your life. And this is what the work does. It will bring you back there. Reason number two for neutral that happens is your IGS knows you really well. And so if you're trying to get guidance on something that your IGS knows you're going to react poorly to, that you're going to freak out over, it's going to give you let's say it gives you an answer that your cousin has cancer. You're checking in. Your cousin says they've got these tests. The tests aren't back yet, and they're waiting for the tests. And you try to check in to see if your cousin has cancer. And it knows that if it gives you an opening because your cousin does, you're going to freak out and go do a bunch of stupid stuff with your emotions and your drama that do not need to be a part of the situation. It will not give you an answer. It will not share guidance with you if it knows it's going to harm you. And so if you're sitting there trying to ask questions, which I don't recommend that you ask questions of your IGS, it doesn't work. Because number one, you have to come up with the right question. And most of the time, the question that you're asking is you're already in fear. And so you're asking a question in relationship to fixing a fear. You're already getting the answer. You're closed. You're in fear, which means what you're thinking isn't true. But you don't have the wherewithal and the mastery to say, oh, I'm in fear. That means I'm closed. What I'm thinking isn't even going to happen. You don't go there. What happens is you're in fear. And so you drop in to try to find an opening and get rid of the fear instead of understanding that the fear is the guidance. So asking questions doesn't work. But my point is that you will not be given any guidance that will harm you. It will never give you guidance. It'll stay at neutral. And the third reason is the thoughts you're having aren't taking you toward or away from your blueprint. Okay. It's like the way I like to explain it is you get an opening to move and you're thinking, should I move to Brooklyn or New York City? They're both in the same area, but your life's blueprint is in London. And you're trying to ask a question between these two, and they don't matter because they're not even where you're supposed to be. And part of what I teach you, and when you go and you do training with me, is how to drop into flow, because your internal guidance system will naturally lead you. If you know how to listen, it will lead you to London. It will lead you to where your blueprint is supposed to take you. Your mind doesn't have the answers. It does not know what's right for you. It has a limited box of what it believes is even possible. Okay, so neutral is guidance. I'm going to refresh this. It's like neutral is guidance. It's your natural state of being. And it is something that when you learn mastery, you just like, oh, I'm in neutral. There's nothing for me to do here. Right? It will reveal itself, or I am on my blueprint and everything is fine. Now let's talk about trust. I'm going to go into the rewiring in a minute because trust is part of it. But trusting your internal guidance system, building trust is a combination of your specific stress themes, which is stress themes are everyone has their own unique things that stress them out. What stresses you out does not stress out your friends, your spouse, your other coworkers. Have you ever noticed that you'll have somebody who'll be in massive drama and you're like, I don't get what the big deal is. And they're like trying to tell you, but don't you understand? Like this happened. And you're like, it doesn't feel like it's that big of a deal, or maybe your spouse has been like, honey, I don't know why you're so worked up about this. And you are worked up, but they are not. It's because they don't have the same stress theme, right? You may have a stress theme where you're really terrified of somebody being mad at you and feel like you've got to do something to fix it. And they don't care if somebody's mad at them. They're like, it's their stuff. They're mad, whatever. It's all good. And so your stress themes get in the way of you being able to trust your internal guidance system. And the reason why your stress themes get in the way of your internal guidance system is because they feel so real. Now, where do these stress themes come from? Your stress themes come from your childhood between the ages of 0 and 7. You get them, number one, from watching the people around you. Dad gets home 45 minutes late from work. Mom's angry and frustrated and doesn't talk to him for the rest of the night. So you learn that if somebody's late, it's a horrible, awful thing and they need to be punished. And it stresses you out. For me, it was one of them was my mom, who was a rageaholic. If she came home from work and the house wasn't clean, she would rage and she would get mad and she would throw things around. Even when I was, 19 years old, if my mom was on her way home from work, there's a certain time where my brother and I would just perk up and start cleaning the house, because if the house was clean, there was an 80% chance that she would not rage at us. If the house was a mess, it was a 100% chance that she would come in and be angry. Well, how did that create a stress theme? So when I had roommates, right, at 19, if they left the house a mess, I would rage, because that's what you do if the house is a mess. If somebody didn't clean the house up before you got home from work, you get home and you're mad and you rage. That's not a good position to be in when you want to have a good roommate situation. And so and then that carried into when I had a significant other, and I would be really mad if the house wasn't kept clean. It's one of the things that I had to use my internal guidance system to get rid of. Part of what your IGS does is it alerts you through closing that you have these stress themes, but they feel so real. So it takes a little bit of practice and coaching to see that it's a stress theme and it's not true, because it feels true. And then we have stress defenses. Now, a stress defense is what you do under stress. So what does that mean? So my stress defense was to become in a place where the house was not clean. I would come in and I would drop all my stuff and start cleaning up. My roommates would be like, "Stop it, I'll do it. It's my dishes. Don't worry, I'll do it." No, and I would become a martyr. And then I would do the dishes and then I would like punish them with silence. So my defense was being a martyr and then punishing them with silence, not talking to them. Now, I don't have these anymore because, we're going to talk about in a minute, you rewire your mind by using your internal guidance system. These go away. I can have a dirty house now. I can come home to a dirty house and not be upset. I can sit in a dirty house and be able to still relax. It used to be that even just sitting there seeing everything that was messy, I would basically have to sit on my hands and just mutter to myself, it's going to, in order to stand it. I don't have that anymore. Can you guys relate? I just want to know, can you relate? Um, and then last but not least, how does your mind work? Right? So you have stress themes that were created when you were a kid, and then you have defenses of what you do in response to the stress themes. And then how does your mind work? We all have different personalities. I am a very assertive, go for it personality. So I will attack a situation and until it's fixed. Other people have a mind that's avoidant. And so they'll just not see it. They'll pretend it doesn't exist until it gets worse and worse and worse. And we all have different ways that our minds work. And so once you know your stress themes, you understand how your stress defenses work. So you understand, oh, I've gone past my stress theme. I hit that trigger. And then how to work with your mind, life becomes peaceful. Life becomes peaceful. You know what to do. You know who you are. You know the way you respond to things. You know how to work with yourself when you're at your very worst. You are able to recalibrate your thinking into an opening. And we're going to talk more about what that looks like in just a minute. But for right now, one of the things that I want you to know is that there are different levels of opening and closing. Neutral is when you, like, if you picture a compass like you see here, neutral is like facing east and west. Okay. Now, think of north on a compass being a big, huge, massive opening. Like you're filled with energy, passion. You have an idea. You know you want to do something. There's excitement. There's joy. You're filled with energy. You can hardly sleep. You can work on this project forever and ever and ever because it feels so much energy towards it that you're not even tired. And then south is a deep, deep closing. And a deep closing feels like panic and terror. You feel like a failure. You feel like the world is ending. You feel like everything is collapsing around you. Now, in between west and north, you have little openings, bigger openings and bigger openings, and then you'll have a little closing or you'll have a huge closing. And all of the how big or how closed is based on how true or how not true the thought is. When you are feeling panic and terror, it literally means that what you were thinking is absolutely 100% not coming true. Once you know that, once you truly know that by using your IGS, the world cannot terrorize you anymore. Now, you may feel terror, but you know it's not true and you can step out of it. This takes training and coaching and support because it feels so real. It's why it took me 15 years to truly master this, is because I'm decoding it and your mind, you're inside your own mind, and what your mind is producing feels like the truth. And I'm here to tell you, your IGS holds the truth for you, not your mind. You cannot follow your mind and release all of the stress and fear and worry and overwhelm and anxiety. Your stress themes and stress defenses cannot be fixed with your mind. It's impossible because your mind is a program. And unless you have a nervous system response to reprogram and rewire, which is now why we're going into the rewiring, unless you have a nervous system response to when you move from a closed thinking to thought to an opening thought, your mind will not change its thinking. It will still produce the same habitual thinking. The stress theme is a stress theme for a reason. It's habitual thinking that can't go away. And it doesn't matter to me. Like I have had people who have like $500 million. I worked with somebody that had $500 million and they were still worried about money. They were still had the same stress they did before they had that much money. Now, you've heard of the yield sign. Why is this so important? I was so excited when I found the yield sign. I was at the DMV taking a test and I got this question wrong. Right? I knew it was yellow and black, but it wasn't. The truth of the matter is, in 1974, the yellow and black yield sign was changed to red and white. And by 1978, all of the signs had been changed to red and white. You have passed hundreds of thousands of red yield signs in your life. The picture on the left is Sesame Street. I took a picture of this because my son was 2 years old. The guy holding the yield sign, he did the voice of the snowman in Frozen for Disney. This is well, it's not new now. It's 10 years old now, 11 years or 9 years old now. But they produced a yellow and black yield sign on Sesame Street in 2016. It's in the person who created the signs mind that this is what a yield sign looks like, and it's not true. And you'll see it on billboards, t-shirts, book covers, Sesame Street, movies. There's nothing in our mind that we use that can update. No matter how many times you've passed 100,000 red and white yield signs, your mind did not stop and go, wait, the yield sign is new. I need to update that. There's nothing in your mind that says, wait, that's not what my husband means when he says it that way. Wait, it's not true that I'm not good enough. Wait, it's not true that I'm too shy to speak in public. Wait, it's not true that that person is mad at me. Wait, it's not true that if I don't work super hard, I'll never have enough money. There's nothing to update your stress themes and defenses inside your mind. It doesn't update itself. When you read a book, it's interesting, but it doesn't change your mind. You will know that there's new information. You'll have a better way of communicating. You'll know how to manifest. You'll know how to have positive thinking. You'll know how to create affirmations. You'll know how to do better math, right? But your stress themes and defenses will stay the same. It did not update anything. Therapy does not update anything. In fact, I'm going to say something very controversial. Therapy reinforces the closing thoughts. Talking about the trauma and the closing thoughts does not heal it. It brings it to light and makes it even more real and makes your stress defenses even more real. So you may be able to handle it when the pressure goes up this much, but when the pressure goes up this much, your mind reverts right back to the stress themes and defenses, knee-jerk reaction. That's why you have not been able to do your life different your whole life, is because taking a course, doing therapy, reading books, none of it works. Now, if I gave you a piece of paper and a red crayon and I had you draw, in fact, if you want to try this for yourself, grab a red crayon or a red ink pen and draw the yield sign someday and notice all of a sudden, not only did you update it, and in 1 year, when I ask you again, this yellow and black one will not be in your mind anymore. The red and white one will show up. Because in a year, and I've done this on Coast to Coast AM and several radio stations where I've been a repeat guest, and I've asked them and they still say, they go, oh, I know it's a trick. I know it's a trick. What is it? Oh gosh. And it's like yellow and black. And you go, nope, red and white. They're like, darn it. I knew it. You got me on that last time. And it's because their mind wasn't updated with new data. No matter how much your spouse or your kid shows you they love you, if your stress theme was that you're unlovable, their love will never get in there. No matter how big your bank account gets, if your stress theme is I don't have enough because that's what you saw as a kid, you'll never feel safe. No matter how big it gets, it won't be enough. You won't be able to relax. If your stress theme is I have to get everything done before I go to bed and you work your fingers to the bone, you'll never be able to stop working your fingers to the bone and actually relax and enjoy your life. If your stress theme is I have to keep working to be safe or to be loved or to be appreciated or to have value. That's why this is so important. The mind cannot update the mind. The body updates the mind. When you follow your openings and you go from that closing to the opening, you're reprogramming your mind towards happiness and success. Now, I want you to think about some of the stuff that you did this week in the game. I want you to think about maybe is it any of my businesses? Go back and try to think of that one of your situations and you closed that it was not your business. Now try to think of it as being your business. It doesn't feel true, does it? You know it's not your business because there is a truth inside of you that is your sovereign right. And you now know how to find your truth. And nothing can move you back into thinking that that's your business or the procrastination tool. And there are a good 100 more exercises that are equally as profound and important that I teach that you need to master and learn to update, to understand how to get out of these things and to rewire your mind. But it's your openings. It's your openings that rewire and reprogram your stress themes and your stress defenses. And this isn't something you'll be able to see on your own. All of these closings, once you understand how to find the opening, all of these closings become simply one simple, successful, joyous experience. And knowing the key is important. What I do want to say is it takes coaching. Now, I want to explain to you where you are right now in your experience. You are at level 1. Okay, congratulations. You have accomplished level 1 of you learning to use your IGS. You are now aware that your IGS exists. It's a very real thing for you. You understand that closings are not true and what they feel like. And you are now aware that your mind is not always correct. These are 3 things that you have mastered in this week, and they are so incredibly important. You have connected your internal guidance system to your mind, and they are now working together. Now, unfortunately, there are 2 other levels. And if you stop here, and I'm not doing this to threaten you or to have you be, I want you to feel empowered. But if you stop right now, what I've discovered in going in and doing surveys, within 7 to 10 days, you will stop using your IGS because those stress themes and defenses will just come back. It takes learning to use your IGS every day and clearing out closings. And the clearing out of the closings usually generally take between 6 weeks to 4 months, depending on how big your stress themes are and how many and all of that, to clear out enough closings to where your mind has now moved into level 2. Level 2 is where you're actually living from flow and ease. Okay. And what does that mean? You now learn to live from opening to opening. Like you go from opening to go opening. When you learn how to do flow, it's literally dropping into your listening. And this takes a trust and it takes some coaching, but you literally drop into your listening and you wait and you will feel the second way that your IGS works, which is it pulls you towards something. The way I like to explain it is like if you're cooking Thanksgiving dinner and you're stirring the pot and you're changing over the rolls and you're basting the turkey and you're moving through the kitchen and you just naturally know to go over and stir this, start that, chop this, and you're moving in this dance. Or when you clean your house on a spring day and you just start off and you're doing one thing and then you pick up something and you move into another room and in that room you do like 5 or 6 little things and then you kind of are coming back and all of a sudden and it's just you don't even think about what you're doing, you don't have a plan, you're just cleaning and you notice under the fridge needs to be clean, so you get in there and you can see that and you scrub it. Next thing you know, it's the end of the day. You flowed through the whole house. It's sparkling clean. You don't even know how you got everything done that you got done. It was so easy and it just felt effortless and you were and like wow, everything got done. How did that happen? Another good way to explain it is a dance move. You're out on the dance floor and a song's coming to an end and the next song starts and you go from doing your move that you're doing into a completely different move and it's perfect with the beat of the song, but you didn't even know what the song was. That's flow. All of nature is already operating into the flow. Okay. And so what I mean by that is seeds come up out of the ground, whales migrate to, north or south at the perfect time. Everything in nature, when it starts getting ready to hibernate, when squirrels start collecting nuts, there is an energy and a flow to it exactly as it needs to be. And your life, you are a part of nature, even though our minds have taken us out. The way back in is from this practice of being able to drop into flow and feel the next right thing to do. Feel the call to make. Feel when you go to the post office. Feel when you're supposed to be having in the middle of a conversation. Feeling the next right thing to say or not say in the conversation is all flow and ease. So level 2 is learning to do that. You go from opening to opening. Closing becomes guidance, not suffering. So Right now, you're at a place in level one where you feel a closing. You're like, I got to find an opening. That's why. And you start asking questions. That's not how to use this. What happens in level two is, oh, I'm closed. It's just guidance that I need to change my mind. That's it. It's not suffering. You've been suffering without a solution for so long that you don't realize that there is a possibility of not having any suffering. I want you to think about this for a second. Not having any suffering. Closing is seen as suffering at this stage of your experience. In level two, suffering is not suffering anymore. It's just guidance that you need to find your opening through changing your thinking and getting back in alignment with your blueprint. It's just guidance. You're off your blueprint. It's not considered suffering anymore. It's a beautiful thing. I'm so happy to have the guidance to know that where I'm going in this moment isn't going to work. I'm going to do the practices that Zen has taught me to get back into alignment with what is going to work. And that's it. That's it. It's amazing. The difficult people in your life shift into opportunities to polish your mirror. Your mirror is, I believe that the law of attraction is real, but it's not a prosperity tool. It's a mirror of reflecting back to you what your true soul is about and everything that triggers you in your mirror in lots of different ways is part of what you're polishing, what you're working on. It's where your growth lies. You don't go and find a book to get out of suffering because you're no longer in suffering. You look in your mirror to see where are there things that are out of whack, that are triggering, that are uncomfortable, where the people in your life that isn't working. And you work on those things using your IGS and finding your openings, and they get solved. They heal. You know what to do to heal them. You operate from a real world experience of what's actually there, and you know what to do. You don't have to go outside yourself for answers. I can't tell you, how many people have said, I haven't read a personal development book since I studied with you years ago. They get back to reading fiction, or they read something that improves their business. They do other things. One of the things that's super powerful about this work is you stop working on yourself. Now, I know that sounds really crazy. You'd be like, why would I ever want to stop working on myself? It's not that. You work on things as they come in. You know what to do. You fix them and you go on with your life. The best thing about that I love more than anything about my students, they graduate. They get on with their life. They don't need me anymore. I have a bunch of programs and they're all affordable and wonderful. And I recommend you take them all because they're all really good. But you take them because you're excited about learning more about this tool that you have, not because you feel broken anymore. Your relationships work. When challenges happen, you know exactly what to do. You don't feel broken anymore. You no longer feel the desire or need to work on yourself because you no longer feel broken or not enough. You're powerfully enough and you're smart and you use your IGS, this divine connection to divine intelligence, because you know how to and it works. So that's level two. Now, this is the first half of a program I call Stress to Happiness. Level three is when you stop focusing on what's not working. You stop having these really challenging situations in your life or sucking up your time and energy, and you feel like you're banging your head against the wall and this person doesn't work. And where do I belong? Level three is where you know that you have a purpose. You no longer feel like you're not living in your purpose because you are, because flow naturally takes you to your purpose. I like to say you have 100,000 life purposes. It's not one life's purpose. I don't have one life's purpose. My purpose is this, decoding this and teaching you, and having an amazing marriage with my husband and being an incredible mom, and also learning how to work on myself by becoming a better mom. Myself is helping my friends who need support. I have a friend right now whose father is passing, and I'm in the process of part of my purpose is supporting her in how to see this and how to be with him as he's passing right now, today or tomorrow. Your openings lead you to powerful conversations that change the world. Your wisdom comes through there. You're seen as wise. People come to you for your advice. Everyone in your life sees you as a leader and nourishing to be around. I cannot tell you how many women have come to me and said, my friends don't think I'm a pain in the butt anymore. I don't have the same drama. I'm easy to be around. I don't overgive, overplease, overtax myself. You're led through synchronicity and miracles, and they now just seem like the norm. It's like, well, of course, That person just happened to be at the Starbucks when I was, and I've been waiting to talk to them, and that, perfect conversation happens or the perfect money shows up. In level 3, you are through and into another place. So what I want to share with you um, is that you've just played the game, and I know you know exactly how exciting it is and how challenging it can be in certain situations. You've had a little challenge, and you know that the yield signs exist, but you don't know your own yield signs. And I want you to think about going on and doing more training. So I'm going to tell you about, if it's okay with you, go ahead and raise your hand if it is. Okay. I'm going to tell you more about this training that I have, and I'm giving a massive discount because you played the game, because I don't want you to stop learning. I don't want you to go back to being in suffering with closing when it's just guidance. I want you to know how to find your closings and get into openings and rewire your mind so that you can get on, because selfishly, every person has to do their part on this planet, and your natural contribution is going to create health and healing for your community and everyone around you, your family. And if you are locked in your closings and you're suffering and you are fighting in, like you're blinded inside of a paper bag, you can't get yourself out, you are not going to be able to go on and do your purpose that I need you to do, that the world needs you to do, to create the change we need. And we need the change quickly. I think you can agree with that. So what if I played an active role in your results? If I took a personal interest in your success, would that make a difference? If I became committed to your happiness and your success, could you imagine if you spent time with me weekly doing the training and me helping you find your stress themes and defenses so that you can move into level 3 where you're giving your gifts? Don't you think that would make a big difference? I have a program. It's called Stress to Happiness. So the Stress to Happiness program is $1,997. And then 6 months of group coaching is $582, which breaks down to $97 a month. You can do that monthly. Also in there is a coaching call library with over 500 archive calls. So there's weekly group coaching with me, plus the archive calls, which has me I've worked with over 40,000 people. You get all of those calls listening to me work with other people. I cannot tell you how valuable those are. And then there's community groups where you can ask questions immediately and share your wins. So the total investment to continue studying normally, if you were to go to the website right now, Fear Free Human, is these prices is $2,579. This is completely worth it. I want to let you know this is completely worth it. To be able to go in 6 months and have literally be complete with your personal development and moving on to whatever it is you're here to create. It is cheaper than any therapy or any program or any course with better results. But because you did the game, and I do not want you to stop learning to use your IGS, let me share you a little bit what this looks like. I'm going to give you a massive discount. But first, let me share with you what is in this program. First of all, you understand how to recalibrate your stress themes to guidance. You get rid of your stress themes. You understand them and you reprogram them in your mind. You do not have a knee-jerk reaction to your spouse. You do not have a knee-jerk reaction where you feel that sinking hole inside yourself when your mother-in-law or your sister-in-law or your daughter or your whoever it is in your life that can trip you up and create that pain doesn't happen anymore. You're centered. People are like, what happened to you? You look totally different. You respond completely different. You have courage. You are using the how do I want this to be instead to find out how to get out of your box and have more in life than you've ever imagined. Your stress defenses are gone. These are all the places where you get triggered and you're embarrassed at how you respond. Gone. You have stories about people in your life, how your dad treated you, how your mom treated you, why certain things happened. Those stories get reprogrammed and you understand an opening and they're healed. The trauma is healed. Literally, you do not have a response to your trauma like you used to. And then there's the Stress to Happiness makeover. These are the keys to staying open when somebody is really pushing your buttons, being able to pivot and just stay centered and calm. You cure procrastination, you cure frustration. And then you go into section 2, and this is where we work on your relationships. All the stuff that triggers you, how to do boundaries, how to authentically communicate. One of the most powerful things for women in doing this work is we often in the past will have come to our spouses or the people in our life and we're closed, we're angry, we're upset, we want to fix things, we're mad. And that closing always begets closing. When you do the practices and you wait and you find your opening and you approach your spouse and others with an opening, they listen. They stay open. And you're able to fix things that you never dreamed you could fix. You know if you need to let somebody go. You know what is you're responsible for, and you're able to own it without any shame, just like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be doing this. And you're open, you feel centered, calm, empowered, and like, I'm gonna fix this. I'm not doing this with you anymore. We dive deeply into your mirror so that anything that troubles you and triggers you for the rest of your life, you'll know exactly how to work with it. There will not be any guessing. There will not be any, I need to find somebody else to help me understand or what how to make this decision. You'll know how to make decisions. You'll know what decisions are right for you. You'll have respect, support. You'll know how to clean everything up. And when there's a problem, you'll know what to do. You will be that empowered woman that you always thought you should be, that you knew you could be. And then the last section of the program is how to identify your true purpose. Why are you here? The first thing we go through is what's actually going to make you happy, because most people don't even know what's going to make them happy. When you sit down and say, okay, give me a list of everything that you want in your life, they go, I really don't know. Or they'll have this little tiny, like, oh, I want my house paid off and I want this and I'd like to have lost 20 pounds and a new car would be nice. That's not it. I want to matter. I want to contribute. I want to write my book. I want to become one woman that we have that's amazing. I want to become a championship dancer. Other people is I want to create a business that makes impact on people's lives. I want to sing. One woman is working in The Hague and she went and got her law degree and she's actually working in The Hague prosecuting war crimes. They start nonprofits. They also just hang out with their grandkids and they're calm and they're easy to work to be around and they know how to raise their grandbabies. Your desires become what is actually what you're supposed to produce, and flow takes you there. You step into your destiny, and then your relationships become even better because now you're empowered and you know exactly who you are and what you want to do. You are the sexiest, most interesting, most fabulous, most centered. Like you'd be surprised. You're like, I can't be sexy. I'm 70. No, there's a sexiness that's like attraction. And then there's a sexiness of a vivaciousness of a life force energy that we all have seen. And it's just, they glow. They're beautiful. Jane Goodall, who recently passed, she was just up until the very end, this beautiful, incredible, vivacious, caring person who'd been through so much and had so much to give, the wisdom. So that is Stress to Happiness. And this is the offer until Wednesday night. You can do just the training, or you can add on the 3 months of coaching. Now, I have sold this for $19.97 repeatedly in the past 10 years. This has been sold at that price. Usually the game player discount is $9.97 and you get coaching with it. Right now, with where everything is in the world, I've been doing a lot of surveys of my people. People do not have the same income. And I don't want income to ever be a problem for someone being able to learn how to use their IGS. Because you played the game, the training itself is $297. And if you are somebody who I recommend the group coaching, but there are some people who just don't want group coaching. They're not going to sign up. They're not going to join. They're not going to need it. They don't want to listen to the archive calls. They don't want to be a part of the discussion. They just want the training and move on. So just the training is $297. And if you want to add the group coaching, it's $147 for 3 months of coaching. That comes out to be just under $47, a little over $47 a month. You are able to purchase at any time our coaching for $97 a month and keep it going and cancel at any time. But this is an opportunity for you to get lifetime coaching for $47 a month. At the end of the 3 months, we will give you an email that says, hey, do you want to continue your coaching? You can either do it monthly at 47 or you can do another 3 months at 47, 147. It's up to you, however you want to do it. And this is what you do. You go to Stress to Happiness. I'm going to do this right now. And I want to see if you guys have any questions, by the way. What you'll do is you'll go to Stress to Happiness. I'm putting it on here right now. I'm going to share my screen again. There you go. And then I'll ask questions. I'll answer your questions. You go to Stress to Happiness right now. If you decide that you want to purchase this, I'm going to offer you a bonus. Can't believe I'm doing this. I charge $1,000 a session to coach with me. If you decide to enroll right now before we get off the call, go to Stress to Happiness, click on enroll now. You will get a free coaching bonus session with me. Not free, but a coaching bonus session. So all you do is you go to stresstohappiness.com, you order the 297, you get, if you do it now, because you know you want to do it, so just do it now, you will get a coaching session with me. I recommend that you do at least a month of Stress to Happiness. This is fantastic. I have a woman right now who's in our community. You'll get to know her. And her name's Jan, and she's working on her sister-in-law. Her sister-in-law is really rough. That's what she's using her coaching session with me for. One-on-one, her and I, 45 minutes. We're on the phone. We're going through it. We're going to find her openings. We're going to clear out the toxicity of her sister-in-law. If you have business and you want to go and ask me how to work on your business, if you have a relationship with her in your life, if you have some trauma from your youth that has been torturing you and you want to be done with it, if you have financial stuff going on, any and all of that, that's what you use that private session with me for. To work with me privately, and you guys can do that if you want. I don't have an opening right now, but I have a wait list, is $24,000 for 6 months. I know you might be like, oh, that's incredible. No, that's a lot. I get it. It's a big investment, but I work with large billion-dollar executives. I work with people that money is not an issue. And I really spend my time focusing on getting their lives and what they're doing, which is generally big stuff, really dialed in. When you click on it to do the 297, you will have an opportunity to add to your order this $147 for 3 months coaching if you want, which puts the total order price at $444. So if that's the total price for everything, and then in 3 months, at 7 days and 3 days before the charge goes through, you can choose whether you want to drop that coaching. I recommend that you keep the coaching for 6 months. It's really important. You will have all kinds of closings where you just cannot find an opening, truly. You will believe that your mind is right. Your mind has been leading you for many, 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 many years. And it's very hard to believe that your husband's not an a-hole, or that your sister is actually not trying to make you look like an idiot in front of your mother and father every time you go to holidays, or that your boss really isn't trying to undermine you, or. It's amazing the way that our minds can suck us in to believing the worst. And the closing is telling you that it's not true, that what your mind is producing is not true. And so the thing is that when you show up on the call and you go, I'm super closed in and I don't know what to do, I will get you to a place where you're open, and then you have a new awareness. Listening to the calls. Their calls right now are at 10:30 Tuesday morning Pacific Standard Time, 10:30 a.m. I'm in the process of moving, and as soon as I'm done moving, I'll be adding a couple other calls for the month. But they're every week. I do take Christmas week off. I do take Thanksgiving week off. I take a couple weeks off in the summer. But I usually have you listen to the archived calls, which are gold. You will learn so much by understanding and working with me and watching me work with others. So, like I said, this is available until midnight on Tuesday. This is an offer I've never given before. I've never, ever offered this Stress to Happiness program for $297. I did this week in an email because it was our 55th birthday, but never before. And then I decided to give it to you guys for playing the game. Since it was my birthday week, I thought, well, that's silly. I can't charge $297 for my birthday turning into a senior citizen. And then expect that people to pay more at the game when they've invested so much already. So I'm going to stop my screen share. Is there any questions that you want to give me in the chat? Hi, Donna. Hi, Carmel. If there is no questions, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to go ahead and get off the call. I hope this masterclass gave you more of an understanding of what neutral is, and also how to reprogram the neural pathways and why you can't just put more information in. I can't just tell you that it's a yellow yield sign and now your yellow yield signs have been updated to red and white. Like that doesn't work. And that's reason why people have been saying to you, but I'm not saying that, or that's not what's working, or told you could be thinking about it this way and you just can't think about it that way. It's because you cannot update your mind by putting new information in, it's got to come from the body. And we were born, God gave us this internal guidance system to rewire our mind. I love the passage in the Bible where it talks about the Holy Spirit creating a renewing of the mind. This is what it's talking about. What you did this week is exactly what that Bible verse was talking about. All right. Okay, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you for being here. Yes, I will. I won't email it to you. What I'm going to do is I'll put it in right here. Stress2happiness.com. Click on that. I understand that there's a difference in the dollar, but this program is actually worth $2,000. It truly is. I can't lower it any lower than that, sweetie. But if you want, there's one thing to know is that you can, on this page here, there is financing at 0% interest if you qualify. It's something that we have for people. Hold on, I'm trying to get in there. PayPal has a 6 month. So if you go in and um, you put this in and you go to place the order. So if I can't place the order because I have, here it is right here. I have this card automated in my system, but you have Google Pay, and then there's more ways to pay other than that, pay another way. There's all kinds of different ways in here that you can pay. And if you need a payment plan, reach out to me immediately and we'll find one for you because I want to make sure that everybody is able to do this. But we will definitely have a way for you to participate. Okay. I do not want anybody to be left out. This is your God-given right to be trained to do this. So, all right. And you will not regret. This is an investment. Like I said, I can't believe that I'm actually charging this much, but it just feels opening and right. Yeah, the program is amazing. So, all right. Thank you. I will talk to you guys hopefully on the other side this week in the Stress to Happiness call at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for being here.